Well, very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH286. Patricia and David, we hope you've had a really good weekend. I know it will be warmer if you're up there in Fiji. We have a few listeners from all sorts of places checking up on friends, I guess. But it has been a bit varied here in New Zealand, but we still enjoyed our weekend. Today it has been wet and even more wet. 14 millimetres of rain so far today, but we've actually got a bit of blue sky at the moment. It's 16 degrees, but the barometer is plunging 1,001.5 with a north-northwest wind after the northeast today. North-northwest about 10, but we're quite protected. Well, not really, but it's just really gone to the north-northwest. There were meant to be really quite significant winds out in the Hauraki Gulf today, but we stayed put and dry. All right, well, a bit of news, very eclectic news tonight. Australia, New South Wales really, have had 141 new cases today. It's not going to be helped by the thousands who decided to gather together to protest the lockdowns, but there has been a 38-year-old Brazilian lady, no problems with her health, and she has died in Sydney. So I think that's a sobering reminder that it's not a joke. Fiji, they'll be a little bit happy despite all of the COVID, which yesterday morning totaled 626 for the day. But Fiji Sevens at the Olympics beat Japan just, I might add, 24-19. So the country will be pleased about that one. Other interesting news, the Olympic triathlon winner, the Norwegian, got to the finish line and just collapsed. He had not 1 ounce of energy left. He had to be helped off the course. He absolutely couldn't walk. The New Zealand Hayden Wild, who got third, supported him on one side and an official on the other. So he really gave his all to win that gold medal. Gold, talking about gold, an Auckland couple here over the weekend won $17 million in lotto. A young family, so I'm sure they'll be putting that to good use. I couldn't help but chuckle, however, with news that the PC world, who we're all a bit here in New Zealand getting a little bit fed up with what we can say and what we can't say, but it has reached the shark world. You are no longer to talk about a shark attack. There will now only be a shark bite. Both Queensland and New South Wales henceforth are going to soften their language. So if you are mauled by a shark, it is now described as an encounter or an incident. Not sure that the people that are, which I better mind my tongue here, I'm bitten by a shark now, will probably agree, but anyway, the new technology is going to help dispel inherent assumptions that we all have that sharks are ravenous, mindless, man-eating monsters. These people that have made this change, in fact, say you're more likely to be killed by a train crash or lightning or drowning than you are the system here. All right, but I just thought that, in case you are mauled, bitten by a shark, then you will know how to describe it. All right, what are the boats doing? Well, there's absolutely no boats leaving New Zealand in the weather we've got at the moment. A couple of boats are heading to New Zealand. Aurealis Canaloa, a French boat. They're at 29 south and 173 west, and a Belgian boat, Adventure, at 28 south and 177 west. What have we got? There's also 3 boats coming across from French Polynesia, including Makushla. Now that name rings a bell, US boat Makushla. They are at 15 south and 160 west with pretty decent conditions. And as I mentioned, none have left New Zealand. All right, well, if you are thinking passages and want to read a very sobering report, the New Zealand Maritime Accident Report for sailing vessel Essence has just been released. This is a 47-foot ocean series Bavaria that left Fiji in early October in 2019 with 4 people on board, and they went into a very, very severe low nearing New Zealand, steep waves, 40 to 45 knots, and then on their final knockdown time, the anemometer stuck at 60 knots, where they issued their mayday when they, they were going to get in their life raft, but that had been blown away. They were at 34 south, or 3450 south, and 17425. So fortunately, within helicopter distance from Kerry Kerry, after the Orion had found them in the water. But it has caused, and you people with large windows, there is now a new requirement. Instead of just previously you were meant to have window covers on board, now storm coverings shall be fitted for all windows more than, you better take this down and measure up if you've got some biggish windows, 1858 square centimetres. So there are quite a few boats, Oysters and certainly this Bavaria Ocean series, that have quite biggish windows. So the coverings now need to be fitted when going on a passage rather than just being required to be on board. So it's an interesting one. A very, very good read, actually. It covers, Bob McDavitt has given them some situation report from the weather, and it does go through. It's very readable, and it is a very good thing to read and then maybe update your departure procedures accordingly. So there was a loss of one life, by the way. There was a husband and wife who owned the vessel, plus 2 crew, and the husband and wife, the Orion dropped them a life raft, but they couldn't get aboard very easily, and so were winched up by the helicopter. They got tangled in some lines. But anyway, read all about it and think about it. It's always good when you read those sorts of things to think how you would react in that situation and what you would do, rather than leave it till when the stress levels are over the moon.
Or leave when you shouldn't leave.
Or leave when you shouldn't leave, yes. That's it from me. David is now up for telling us what the weather's going to do for you guys.
Yeah, that is a very good read, and everybody should take a look at it. Anyway, good afternoon from the Gulf Harbour Radio Weather Desk, and we've got a very active synoptic picture today. A complex depression lies over New Zealand with multiple lows. We have fronts, we have troughs. The weather is simply windy and wet. It's not nice. On either side of the system, we have anticyclones. The eastern high is just past the Chatham Islands at about 1030 millibar, 1030 millibar, while the western high lies over eastern Queensland, and that is approximately 1022 millibar. When you look at it on a synoptic chart, the two highs look like the buns on a Big Mac, with the filling, the complex depression. It really does look like that. A lot of activity up in the tropics as well. An active trough runs from the southern Solomons, runs southeast, cuts right through Vanuatu and onward. I'll talk about more in a minute on that one. Another trough runs from Tuvalu, goes into Tokelau, over Tokelau, and then on to the northern Cooks. And then we've got an active trough that lies over Rotuma. Then it goes on to, just south of Wallace and Futuna, goes onward to Tonga and Niue. Now, that trough that I mentioned that cuts through Vanuatu and then runs southeast from there, it's lying just below Fiji, just to the southwest of Fiji. Satellite imagery shows cloud bands over Vanuatu and the Lau, but these cloud bands are all part of the Rotuma trough. But the trough that's southwest of Fiji, that I just mentioned, is expected to drift over the group from late tomorrow. So you've got something to look forward to there. For now, we're looking at southeast winds, 10, 15 knots, probably more like 15, but soon to rise 15 to 20. And Wednesday looks like southeast 20, and Thursday I think we're going to be looking at 25 knots. So there is some activity coming to Fiji, so be aware of all of that. And frankly, that's it. That's all I've got. So take care, and here's the chief.
Okay, I was just checking up on what boats were where, and I forgot to tell you the important thing. If you do want to read that report, it is on the Gulf Harbour Radio website, ghradio.co.nz. It's on the front page, actually. I'll put it in the blog section and just click on that and you'll be directed to the website. All right, that's it from us. It was pretty short and sweet, wasn't it? But not much more to report. Is there anybody wanting to tell us anything? We are listening. I certainly do, Charles. I was just looking up to see whether you were still at Vianney Bay. There's a few boats there, but I haven't yet got my finger poised over the top of them. Where are you, over?
So we went from Vianney Bay to Paradise on 30 Uni, but we're now up in the Bay of Islands in Honolulu. So Honolulu, Bay of Islands at the moment. QSL?
QSL. So I was looking in the wrong place here. So yeah, that's a lovely area. We've not ever been to anywhere in the Lao because when we were cruising, it just wasn't permitted. So you'll have to tell us all about it. Is it a nice spot that you're in, over?
Very interesting spot with tiny little undercut islands and quite picturesque. There's quite a number of boats in the cruise already, all over dozens actually, and all in these tiny little languages. So very interesting and worthy of filming a few pictures of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh, that sounds lovely. I'm just trying to find boats there, but I don't think there's been a satellite pass over there for a while. By the look of it, I'll have to check up later. Can't multitask too much, these days. I end up in a mess. All right, so I guess the crew will be maybe enjoying a bit of a different scenery under the water as well, Roger. All right, yes, now I've found it all. I was looking in the wrong place. Yes, not tied down, and Rondo, and Euroblanca. Oh, it looks like a merry bunch there in the Bay of Islands, so that sounds good. All right, and nice light southeast winds, so very pleasant. Oh, I wish we could experience a bit of that. So a very good evening to you all in Paradise Bay there. And Riz as well, and it's roaring more. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, we'll enjoy that, Charles, and thanks for coming on to update us. Is there anybody else? I'll clear with Ringalot. Is there anybody else? No, nothing heard. It's actually quite mild here now. We've got the fire on just because it's been so dull and dismal all day, but we'll go and watch perhaps a bit more of the Olympics. I was always more of a playing sport rather than watching sport, but there are some spectacular segments on the Olympic program, but we do tend to get bogged down sometimes watching long events where nothing much happens. The cycling does a bit that way, but if you knew about cycling, of course, and knew the riders, you would probably be fascinated, but it was, for the rest of us, going up Mount Fuji, the scenery was more interesting than the boat riding. All right, folks, if there's nothing more, we'll be back again tomorrow, same time, at 5:15 on this frequency, 8752. Have a very lovely evening up there if you're in the tropics, and we'll be back tomorrow. Cheers all.